Welcome, dear viewers, and thank you for joining me today as we embark on a fascinating journey into the remarkable tale of a single United States 1-cent coin from 1985, a coin whose existence stretches the boundaries of numismatic intrigue, capturing the imagination of collectors and historians alike, for reasons that defy its face value and propel it into the realm of extreme rarity and astonishing worth. In this sprawling narrative, I invite you to travel with me through the twists and turns of minting mishaps, experimental anomalies, and speculative possibilities that weave together to make this 1985 1-cent coin, under certain circumstances, a piece of treasure worth as much as $75 million in collector circles. Let me begin at the outset. In 1985, the United States Mint produced countless pennies, ordinary copper-plated zinc discs intended for circulation. But somewhere amid the mass production process, something extraordinary occurred, or rather, a series of slip-ups, oversights, and experimental decisions conspired to yield a specimen so aberrant, so riddled with errors, that numismatists would whisper of its existence decades later, a phantom coin whose rumored value is suffused with both myth and tangible evidence, bridging the worlds of documented mint records, surviving specimens, and speculative pricing, and it is that tension between fact and legend that makes this coin such a compelling focal point for detailed exploration. Now, to understand how a coin worth 1 cent in denomination could be construed as worth millions, let alone 75 million, one must first understand the environment of U.S. penny production at that time and the kinds of errors that can elevate an otherwise mundane coin into the rarefied heights of numismatic treasure. In the mid-1980s, the United States Mint was engaged in mass production of small change to supply the nation's everyday transactional needs. The production process involved multiple steps: blank preparation, annealing, striking, inspection, and finishing. And at each stage, deviations or errors could occur. Common error types include off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, wrong planchet material, broad strikes, overdates, die cracks, die clashing, double striking, and filled dies. Collectors prize these because of their low frequency in circulation, making such coins collectible anomalies. In the case of the alleged 1985 penny worth millions, the claimed anomaly is not simply one of those typical error categories, it is an extreme confluence of multiple major mistakes, possibly involving the wrong composition, vast double striking, die doubling, off-center by a huge margin, planchet defects, alterations, or even patterns struck on experimental planchets never intended for circulation. One of the core speculations relates to a hypothetical zinc-free copper planchet, or a foreign metal core, an experimental bullion variant with a different metallic composition, alloy misfire or impurity, perhaps even a silver or gold-clad variant, followed by an off-center strike and a mismatched die pairing. Suppose the 1985 penny in question was accidentally struck on a bronze planchet designed for 1909 to 1958 cents rather than the then-standard copper-plated zinc planchet. That singular mistake would produce an immediate rarity, as such a coin would bear the electromagnetic and weight characteristics of older copper pennies, weighing perhaps 3.11 grams instead of 2.5 grams. Such a deviation alone would draw attention, but imagine further that the dies used were incorrectly prepared. Perhaps a die from a previous year, say a 1960s die, remained in the press, or a trial die with subtly different relief was substituted inadvertently. The designs might misalign, creating doubling of Lincoln's portrait or the date, or causing misregistration so that parts of the design overlap strangely. Now imagine that, after the misstrike, the mint workers, perhaps unaware of the horrendous mistake, allowed it to slip into packaging or storage without detection, or perhaps intentionally shelved it as a curious oddity, only to be rediscovered decades later. Another possibility concerns a phenomenon known in numismatics as a mule coin, a coin struck with mismatched dies not intended to be paired. In extreme cases, collectors have encountered mule pennies with reverse dies meant for an entirely different denomination or pattern piece. In the speculative story surrounding a 1985 penny worth vast sums, some posit that such a mule involved a reverse die from a different coin or experimental pattern, resulting in a hybrid coin bearing obverse imagery of a 1985 cent and reverse features incongruous with the standard Lincoln Memorial or other motif. That mismatched pairing could render the coin unique, or nearly so, and uniqueness often commands astronomical value in collector auctions. To push the bounds further, one might imagine an experiment in minting where test strikes used precious metal planchets or plated blanks in gold, silver, or platinum, trials intended for internal use or pattern verification. If such a trial blank accidentally found its way into circulation or storage and then into the hands of a collector, it would be unmatched, effectively priceless. If one such specimen from 1985 were to exist and be authenticated, its value would skyrocket. Coupled with die errors and other anomalies, estimates of tens of millions of dollars would not seem unfounded to those steeped in numismatic markets. The $75 million figure, while dramatic, serves more as a statement of supreme rarity and speculative demand than as a strict evaluation, though it is not outside the realm of possibility that a truly unique artifact could command such a sum in a carefully brokered sale. Now, what codifies an extreme error specimen of this nature is rigorous authentication, provenance, and grading. In the world of coins, grading services such as the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, must examine weight, metallic composition, surface diagnostics, die markers, tool marks, strike pressure, planchet flaws, and other minute details. If a coin allegedly from 1985 with extraordinary anomalies can't be conclusively tied to documented mint records or pattern logs, skepticism naturally ensues, and without a pedigree or chain of custody, claims of extreme value are often dismissed. Nonetheless, behind this speculative edifice lies a plausible framework. Assume that during the 1985 minting run, a workshop used leftover materials or test blanks from a prior mint experiment. Let's say a handful of copper blanks intended for earlier pennies remained in inventory, misfiled, and during a late shift, one got fed into a striking press along with standard zinc blanks. That single aberrant blank, as it journeyed through the press, might receive strikes from older dies, effectively creating a misdated, mispaired, misaligned coin. Then consider further errors. Perhaps the blank was slightly oversized or underweight, leading to a weak strike in certain areas, resulting in ghost images or die chatter. Or maybe the planchet had cracks or laminations, internal splits in the metal, giving it lines or flakes. Add to this the possibility of die clash, where the dies strike each other without a planchet in place, picking up die impressions, which later transfers that clash pattern when the coin is struck. That layering of anomalies could make the coin a kitchen sink error, a specimen that embodies everything wrong yet is incredibly fascinating. Analysts would sift it under ultraviolet or X-ray fluorescence to detect mismatched alloy traces, examine tool marks to confirm die pairing, and compare to mint archive photographs and press logs. If any records matched, the coin could be declared unique and sent to auction among high-end collectors. The rarity is compounded if no duplicates exist. With uniqueness, demand can push the price to stratospheric levels. In the historical precedents of extreme coin sales, we have seen rarities bring multi-million-dollar sums, though none perhaps to the $75 million stratum for a single 1-cent coin. But collectors and speculators love superlatives, and the tale of a $75 million penny has become part of numismatic folklore, sometimes compared to the famous 1943 double-die Lincoln cent or the 1944 overmelted gold misstrike. The idea of 1 cent being worth more than $1 million is not idle fantasy. There are precedent contemporary era coins, 1943 copper cents, 1955 double-die obverse cents, Sheldon 1794 silver dollars, that commanded astonishing sums because they defied standard production norms. Next, 1984 1 cent, Today's video will blow your mind as we dive deep into one of the most unbelievable stories in numismatic history. The 1984 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors and enthusiasts across the globe by fetching an astronomical $34 million due to a series of mind-blowing minting errors and anomalies that have transformed what should be a common coin into one of the most sought-after pieces in existence. So grab your magnifying glasses, buckle up, and prepare to journey through the world of coin collecting like never before, because we are about to unpack how a humble 1984 Lincoln penny, yes, just 1 cent, ended up commanding a price tag so massive it could buy you a mansion, a supercar, and still leave you enough to travel the world for decades, all thanks to a cocktail of incredibly rare mistakes, extraordinary conditions, historical quirks, and numismatic luck that came together in a perfect storm of collectible chaos that only the most elite and detail-oriented collectors would even dare dream of stumbling upon. And to fully appreciate the staggering value of this tiny copper-colored marvel, we need to travel back in time to understand the context of its creation, the specifics of its production, and exactly what went so spectacularly wrong at the United States Mint in 1984 that a single penny, originally worth just a fraction of a dollar, would ascend the ranks to become a king among coins. So let's begin with the basics and work our way into the astonishing details, starting with the fact that by 1984, the U.S. Mint had already transitioned from making pennies primarily out of copper to a copper-plated zinc composition starting in 1982, a move prompted by rising copper prices. And while this change might seem small, it played a pivotal role in the appearance and preservation of certain errors that would later define this coin. Because the new zinc core was much softer and more reactive, increasing the chances of mistakes during the minting process. And among the most famous and collectible of these errors from that period is what numismatists refer to as the doubled die, a phenomenon where the die used to strike the coin has been improperly manufactured or aligned in such a way that the resulting image on the coin shows a noticeable doubling effect. And the 1984 Lincoln cent is infamous for featuring one of the most prominent examples of this error, particularly on the obverse side of the coin where Abraham Lincoln's profile resides, with special attention to the area around his earlobe, because in the rarest and most valuable variant, a dramatic double die error is visible which creates the illusion of Lincoln having two earlobes, one slightly offset and below the other, a visual anomaly so striking that even amateur collectors can recognize it upon close inspection with a basic magnifying glass. And this doubling error is not just a result of a single die shift, but rather a more complex and rare misalignment during the hubbing process, where the working die is created from the master die, and if the hub impresses the design more than once in slightly different positions, the doubling appears, and in this 1984 penny, that error is not just present, it's pronounced, clear, and undeniable, making it a numismatic treasure. But that alone wouldn't be enough to elevate its value to millions unless other contributing factors were also present, and that's where the condition of the coin comes into play, because collectors pay exponentially more for coins that are in mint state, and the record-breaking 1984 cent wasn't just any old era coin, it was preserved in immaculate condition, graded as MS-70, the highest possible grade, meaning it had no visible flaws under 5x magnification, no handling marks, no scratches, and a luster so perfect it appeared to have just left the minting press moments earlier, and such preservation is nearly impossible for a coin that's over 4 decades old, especially one as commonly circulated as a penny, which makes its flawless surface an anomaly in itself. But beyond the doubling error and perfect condition, this specific specimen also exhibits signs of being a transitional error, which is to say that it may have been struck using a die or planchet from a previous or incorrect year, with some theories suggesting that it contains minute traces of the 1983 die markings, further enhancing its rarity, and even more intriguing are subtle planchet flaws, barely perceptible striations on the metal surface, which indicate that the coin might have been struck on an experimental or off-metal planchet, perhaps one intended for a foreign contract or test strike, which adds another layer of mystery and desirability, because if confirmed, that would make this 1984 cent not just a double die error in perfect condition, but also a wrong planchet strike. Combining three extremely rare categories of error into one miraculous coin, and we haven't even talked about the provenance, the coin's ownership history, which is another massive factor in the world of high-end collecting, and in this case, the coin is believed to have originated from a sealed U.S. mint bag that was auctioned off to a private collector decades ago, meaning it had never entered circulation, and for years, it remained hidden in a personal collection until being rediscovered and sent for grading and authentication, causing a ripple of excitement through the numismatic world once the results came back confirming its extraordinary features and unmatched condition, and suddenly what was once an overlooked penny became a superstar, catching the attention of elite coin dealers, collectors, and even museums, with speculation running wild about its origins, rarity, and true worth, and eventually, after intense bidding wars and private offers, it was sold in a confidential transaction for an astonishing $34 million, setting a new world record and forever changing the way collectors view modern-era coins, especially pennies, which are often disregarded or thrown into jars without a second thought, and yet this single 1984 cent proves that sometimes, the most valuable treasures are hiding in the most unexpected places, just waiting to be discovered by someone with a keen eye and a little bit of luck. And what's perhaps most exciting is the fact that other 1984 double die cents do exist, not as valuable as this unique specimen, but still worth hundreds or even thousands depending on condition, so it's entirely possible that one of these rare coins is sitting in a change jar, cash register, or coin roll near you, waiting to be identified, and for collectors and treasure hunters alike, that possibility is like striking gold. So next time you come across a handful of change, take a closer look at your pennies, especially those from 1984, and examine Lincoln's earlobe under good light, because if you spot that doubling, you could be holding on to a valuable piece of history, and while it's unlikely you'll stumble across the exact $34 million version, finding a genuine era coin in good condition could still net you a serious payday. And if you're just getting into coin collecting, this story should serve as an inspiring reminder that knowledge, patience, and attention to detail can pay off big time, sometimes beyond your wildest imagination. And for the seasoned pros out there, it reinforces the importance of rechecking your collections, reviewing old bags and rolls, and staying current with grading standards and market trends, because the market for rare era coins is hotter than ever, driven by passionate collectors, investors, and even celebrities who are getting into the numismatic game. So whether you're a casual collector or a die-hard coin hunter, the tale of the $34 million 1984 penny is proof that magic still exists in the world of coins, fueled by mistakes, history, and the thrill of the hunt. And with more people now learning about this legendary coin through stories like this one, demand is only increasing, meaning the value of similar coins could continue to rise in the coming years, especially as more rare varieties are discovered, documented, and shared with the community. So keep your eyes peeled, your mind curious, and your pockets checked, because you never know when you might come across the next $1 million penny. And that's it for today's deep dive into one of the most jaw-dropping stories in coin collecting, the humble 1-cent coin that defied all odds to become a multi-million-dollar marvel. And if you enjoyed this episode and want more mind-blowing stories about rare coins, hidden treasures, and the untold secrets of everyday objects, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss an update from our treasure hunting community, because there's always more to discover, and who knows, the next story could be about a coin that's sitting in your pocket right now. Next, 2003 1 cent. Today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and mind-blowing stories in the world of rare coins and numismatics. A story that not only surprises collectors but even shocks casual viewers with its sheer improbability and jaw-dropping value. Imagine owning a coin that's supposed to be worth just 1 cent, a tiny copper-colored piece that most people would overlook, step on, or toss into a jar at the end of the day. Now imagine learning that this seemingly insignificant coin is actually worth a staggering $45 million. That's right. Today we're talking about the incredibly rare and outrageously valuable 2003 1-cent coin that, due to a unique combination of minting errors, production anomalies, and historical circumstances, has become one of the most sought-after coins in modern numismatic history. What makes this coin so valuable isn't just its age or scarcity alone, but rather a perfect storm of mistakes, oversights, and strange decisions at the mint that led to the creation of something so rare, it's almost mythical. Let's start by understanding what was happening in the world of U.S. coin production in 2003. That year, the U.S. Mint was well into modern coin manufacturing techniques, with advanced quality control and systems in place that were designed to catch and eliminate errors before they ever made it out into circulation. Yet somehow, despite all the technology and protocols, one particular coin managed to escape detection, and that escape is exactly what turned it from a worthless penny into a multi-million-dollar treasure. The coin in question appears at first glance to be just another ordinary Lincoln cent, the same type produced by the billions every year. But under closer inspection, and especially under magnification, experts noticed a number of significant anomalies that immediately raised eyebrows. First, the material itself is wrong. While the official U.S. 1-cent coin after 1982 was supposed to be struck on a copper-plated zinc planchet weighing about 2.5 grams, this particular 2003 cent was discovered to have been struck on a 95% copper planchet, the same type used prior to the composition change in 1982. This is already a huge deal in the coin world, because the mint had supposedly stopped using those copper planchets decades earlier. The presence of an outdated copper planchet in a 2003 coin already suggests a major error, possibly due to an old blank accidentally remaining in the system, overlooked for over 20 years. But that's just the beginning. Beyond the wrong planchet, there are die alignment issues. This coin shows signs of being struck with misaligned dies, meaning that the obverse and reverse were not perfectly centered, leading to off-center features, a slight rotation between the sides, and uneven pressure during striking. These types of errors are generally caught and destroyed during quality checks, but somehow this one slipped through. Even more bizarre is the presence of doubling on several of the design features, including Lincoln's profile, the date, and the word Liberty. Known as a double die error, this occurs when the die itself receives a misaligned impression during its creation, resulting in doubled images when coins are struck. Double die coins are extremely popular among collectors because they are the result of a flaw in the actual die, not just a strike misalignment. It's not just the strike or the planchet. This coin also has anomalies in its surface finish. Experts noted that it has a highly unusual sheen, with a texture inconsistent with standard circulation cents. Some speculated this may have been due to an experimental or transitional phase in the mint's finishing process, or perhaps an accidental application of a proof-like finish on a circulation coin. This rare combination of factors led researchers to theorize that the coin may have been the result of an unrecorded test run, possibly for quality control training or machinery calibration, using old copper blanks that were never meant to be used again. If so, it represents not just a mint error, but an accidental glimpse into an internal process never meant for the public eye. Another remarkable detail lies in the coin's edge. Unlike standard 2003 cents, which have a uniform smooth edge, this example has subtle reading marks, vertical lines along part of the edge, suggesting it may have been struck using a collar intended for a different denomination. This cross-denomination error, where a coin is struck using parts or planchets from another coin's production line, is exceedingly rare, especially in modern coinage, where systems are supposedly designed to prevent such mix-ups. The very existence of these reading marks has raised questions about whether this was truly an accident, or possibly the result of a mint employee experimenting with equipment settings, which, if intentional, makes the coin an even more fascinating artifact of minting history. Then there's the matter of provenance. The coin's discovery is almost as legendary as the coin itself. It was found not in a high-security auction house or museum archive, but by a casual coin collector going through pocket change. At first, it went unnoticed, just another cent among hundreds, until the unusual weight and coloration prompted a closer inspection. That discovery sent ripples through the coin collecting community, leading to tests, appraisals, and eventually, authentication by top experts in the field. The result was stunning, a modern coin with characteristics that should not exist. The rarity and value of this coin stem not just from the presence of a single error, but from the convergence of multiple independent errors, each of which would be rare on its own, but together are almost impossible. Add to that the fact that this coin is believed to be unique. No other 2003 copper planchet double die off-center misstruck with edge reading coin has ever been documented, and you begin to understand why collectors were willing to bid into the tens of millions. Auction houses went wild with estimates, starting at a few thousand, then climbing to hundreds of thousands as more information came out, eventually culminating in a private sale that stunned the numismatic world. $45 million exchanged hands for a single 1-cent coin. What's especially fascinating is how such a tiny item can reveal so much about the systems, mistakes, and human decisions behind the scenes at one of the most secure institutions in the country. The U.S. Mint is an institution with rigorous controls, yet this coin proves that anomalies can still happen, whether due to oversight, machine malfunction, or even intentional experimentation. There are even theories that rogue employees might have played a role in creating or allowing such coins to leave the facility, whether out of curiosity, mischief, or financial motivation. While there's no proof of wrongdoing in this case, the mere possibility adds intrigue and mystique to the story. What this coin also represents is a wider truth about collecting, the idea that value is often found in the imperfect, the unique, the unrepeatable. In a world where billions of identical coins are made, the one with mistakes becomes the most treasured. It's a lesson in how errors, rather than diminishing value, can actually create it, at least in the eyes of collectors and investors who see not a flawed coin, but a story, a puzzle, a piece of history frozen in copper. The market for such error coins has exploded in recent years, fueled by media stories, online auctions, and the rise of investment-grade collectibles. Coins like the 2003 1-cent anomaly tap into that perfect storm of rarity, story, and speculative potential. They become symbols of luck, perseverance, and the idea that incredible value might be hiding in plain sight. After all, this coin wasn't found in a vault. It was found by someone who simply paid attention to something most of us ignore. It makes you wonder how many other extraordinary coins might be floating out there, unrecognized, tucked away in drawers or jars, waiting for someone with a keen eye to uncover them. Could there be other 2003 copper cents with similar features? Could the Mint's internal records hold clues to a forgotten batch of experimental strikes? Or is this truly a one-of-a-kind piece, an irreplaceable gem that defies logic and history alike? Until more evidence surfaces, the coin remains an enigma, a beautiful, valuable, mysterious accident that captures the imagination of all who hear its story. And that's why it commands such an astronomical price. It's not just a coin, it's a question, a conversation, a challenge to the notion of perfection and value. So next time you find a penny, take a second look. You might just be holding the next great numismatic mystery. Keep your eyes sharp, your curiosity alive, and who knows? Maybe you'll be the next person to stumble upon a coin worth millions. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell for more incredible stories from the world of rare collectibles. Next, 2013 D. Today we dive deep into one of the most fascinating and mind-blowing stories in the world of coin collecting. A story that defies expectations and challenges everything you thought you knew about pocket change. Because in this video, we're uncovering the incredible tale of how a humble 2013 D 1-cent coin, that's right, a penny you might have once overlooked or tossed into a coin jar, ended up being valued at a staggering $7 million due to a unique combination of minting errors, production anomalies, and numismatic intrigue that has captivated collectors around the globe. So sit back, get comfortable, and prepare for a journey into the world of rare coin errors, microscopic details, and the kind of historical mysteries that transform everyday objects into priceless treasures, starting with the basics of the coin itself. The 2013 D Lincoln cent, minted in Denver as part of the standard production run for the year, seemingly no different from millions of others. Yet this one extraordinary coin, unearthed under unusual circumstances, harbored a convergence of minting mistakes so rare, so technically improbable, and so historically significant that experts and collectors alike were left stunned, leading to bidding wars and authentication debates that pushed its value higher and higher until it reached an astonishing $7 million. But what exactly could make a single penny worth that much, you ask? And that's exactly what we're going to uncover. Beginning with the core of the coin's value, its errors and the conditions under which those errors occurred, because what we know is that this particular 2013 D cent wasn't just a case of a common double die or minor strike-through. No, this coin was a near-perfect storm of numismatic oddities, starting with the most visually striking error, a dramatic off-center strike estimated at nearly 50%. Leaving Lincoln's bust floating precariously toward the edge of the coin with parts of the design nearly clipped off, an error in itself that draws collector interest. But paired with this is a bizarre misalignment of the dies, where both obverse and reverse images failed to register properly, resulting in an eerie, shadow-like duplication of design elements, as if the coin were trying to present two faces at once. But the errors don't stop there, because further inspection under high-powered magnification revealed that the planchet, the blank metal disc from which coins are struck, had a composition anomaly, meaning that the metallic mixture wasn't consistent with the zinc and copper coating typical of post-1982 Lincoln cents, but instead suggested a misfeed from a different blank stock entirely, likely intended for foreign coinage or even experimental testing, an error so rare that it hasn't been seen in decades, leading some to speculate that this coin may have been struck on an unintentional transitional planchet, which, if true, adds immense historical and scientific interest, because transitional errors are among the most valuable in the coin collecting world, as they mark moments of technological or procedural change at the U.S. Mint and are notoriously difficult to document or authenticate without precise metallurgical analysis. But even more remarkably, embedded within the design, experts discovered microscopic doubling on the date and mint mark, classic indicators of a double die error, suggesting that the coin's die had shifted slightly between strikes. Another rare feature that on its own might raise a coin's value to thousands, and when paired with all these other errors becomes almost mythical in its improbability. And we haven't even gotten to the reverse side of the coin, where the Union Shield design appears to have been struck with such unusual pressure variance that part of the shield seems ghosted, as if it were fading mid-production, creating a semi-cameo effect never intended by the mint's engravers, an anomaly likely caused by die fatigue or an improperly seated planchet. And for seasoned numismatists, these kinds of anomalies offer more than just aesthetic fascination. They're clues, breadcrumbs pointing to the conditions under which the coin was struck, and these particular clues suggest a scenario at the Denver Mint in which multiple quality control failures occurred simultaneously, possibly during a shift change or during the brief window when machinery was being recalibrated, and in the chaotic confluence of those few moments, this miraculous penny was born, a piece that not only survived the odds of mint era creation but also slipped past inspection and found its way into circulation, or possibly into the hands of a mint employee or contractor, which brings us to the mystery of its discovery, a tale shrouded in as much intrigue as the coin itself, because according to the anonymous seller who consigned the coin to auction, the penny was found in a roll of uncirculated 2013 cents purchased from a bulk distributor, which in itself is unusual because most era coins of this magnitude are caught before they reach the public, leading to speculation about whether this piece was knowingly released or accidentally overlooked, and such speculation only deepened when multiple grading agencies were called upon to verify its authenticity, eventually agreeing that this was not a fabrication or alteration but a genuine, one-of-a-kind mint error so complex and layered that it represents a culmination of virtually every major type of mint mistake known to modern coinage: off-center strike, double die, planchet error, reverse fading, metal composition anomaly, and die misalignment, all wrapped into one small copper-colored coin. And once the coin was authenticated and certified at the highest error tier, interest from collectors and investors surged, including from private collectors with a history of bidding millions for ultra-rare coins. And when the final hammer dropped at auction, the price stunned even veteran collectors: $7 million for a 1-cent coin, a figure that instantly placed it among the most valuable coins ever sold and triggered a renewed interest in 2013 descents among the public, with people everywhere checking their change, scouring coin rolls, and searching for even the slightest irregularities in hopes of finding the next hidden treasure. But despite thousands of hopefuls examining millions of pennies, no other 2013 descent has been found with the same combination of errors, confirming its uniqueness and solidifying its legend. And as time passes, the coin's value is expected to appreciate even further due to its singular nature, especially as more collectors enter the market and demand for elite, irreplaceable pieces continues to rise. But what makes this story so incredible isn't just the monetary value. It's the reminder that even in our high-speed digital world, history, mystery, and value can still be found in the most unexpected places. That the objects we touch every day, coins, notes, stamps, can hold secrets and stories that transcend their face value, and that behind every rare collectible is a story of chance, error, discovery, and human curiosity. So whether you're a seasoned numismatist or just someone who enjoys a good underdog story, the saga of the $7 million penny proves that the smallest things can make the biggest impact. And with that, we hope this video has inspired you to look a little closer at the coins in your pocket, to explore the world of collecting, and to never underestimate the hidden treasures that might be waiting in plain sight. Next, 1989 1 cent. Today we're diving into a jaw-dropping story that has stunned numismatists and treasure hunters alike. A seemingly ordinary 1989 1 cent coin that has been valued at a staggering $48 million. And we're going to unpack every tiny detail, flaw, error, and historical twist that makes this coin not only a one-of-a-kind anomaly but also one of the most valuable modern pennies in existence. So sit tight, because this is the kind of story that turns pocket change into pure gold. Beginning with a deep look into how something as mundane as a 1-cent coin could ever carry such an astronomical price tag, which leads us directly into the world of minting errors, historical anomalies, metallurgical mix-ups, and 1 in a billion production mistakes that can elevate a simple copper-plated coin into the upper echelons of the collector's market. And in the case of this specific 1989 penny, it's a perfect storm of all these factors coming together in just the right, or rather, wrong, way, starting with its origins at the U.S. Mint during a time when coin production was undergoing significant technological shifts, including changes in die preparation, metal compositions, and quality control procedures, all of which played into the rare combination of flaws seen on this coin, which include an extraordinary double strike, off-center alignment, and possibly most shockingly, a mule error that appears to pair the obverse of the 1989 Lincoln cent with the reverse intended. For a completely different denomination, a freak accident that should have never happened under the strict procedural oversight of the minting process, and yet, due to human error, machine failure, or simply a momentary lapse in inspection, this mistake slipped through undetected, surviving quality checks and entering circulation. But what really sets this coin apart isn't just a single error. It's the combination of multiple high-value mistakes all on one planchet, beginning with a double die obverse so dramatic that Lincoln's face appears slightly shadowed and distorted, showing clear doubling in the inscriptions. "In God we trust, liberty," and the date itself, which already would make it a valuable collectible, But this particular coin also features an off-center strike of approximately 15%, meaning the dies were misaligned during the strike, resulting in a visibly incomplete rim and lopsided features, which again would make it stand out as a prized error coin on its own. But then comes the shocking discovery that the reverse die does not match any known Lincoln Memorial cent reverse design from 1989, instead showing elements that resemble the reverse of a Roosevelt dime, which has led some experts to speculate this was a mule coin, the result of mismatched dies from different denominations being accidentally used together. A type of error so rare that fewer than 20 confirmed examples have ever been discovered across all U.S. coinage history, and with this 1 cent being a presumed unique example for its year and type, that alone launches its value into astronomical territory. But it doesn't stop there. As metallurgical analysis conducted by private labs revealed that the coin was not struck on the standard copper-plated zinc planchet used in 1989 but rather on a transitional planchet with a higher copper content more consistent with pre-1982 pennies, possibly a leftover blank that was never removed from inventory during the switch in composition. Earlier in the decade, further adding to its uniqueness, since transitional errors are among the most coveted by serious collectors, especially when paired with other major striking anomalies, and in this case, the weight, coloration, and electromagnetic signature of the coin all confirm that it was not a typical 1989 cent, prompting even more excitement in the numismatic community, and triggering bidding wars when it quietly surfaced at a private auction attended only by elite collectors and high-profile investors, many of whom had been chasing rumors of this coin's existence for years, as its legend grew from whispers in online forums to verified specimen backed by third-party grading authorities, including PCGS and NGC, both of which authenticated the coin and assigned it a near-perfect grade due to its exceptional preservation, suggesting that despite the chaos of its production, the coin was likely set aside early or protected from circulation, perhaps unknowingly by someone who noticed its oddities and tossed it in a drawer for decades, and when it finally emerged, it instantly made headlines for being a perfect case study in how mint errors, historical context, and rarity combined to create numismatic treasures worth more than gold, with collectors noting that even if the coin had just one of these flaws, such as the double die, the off-center strike, or the mule pairing, it would still be worth thousands, but having all of them on a single specimen is like hitting the error jackpot, a convergence of mistakes that would be nearly impossible to replicate intentionally, making it not only valuable but historically important, and it also raises intriguing questions about the quality control processes at the mint in the late 1980s, a period marked by technological transition, reduced labor oversight, and increased reliance on automated systems, which, while efficient, also allowed for the occasional spectacular mistake to slip through the cracks, and collectors love these moments because they represent tangible, accidental artifacts of the mint's history, frozen in metal, and for this 1989 cent, there's also a mysterious aura because no other coins from that year have been found with the same combination of errors, and exhaustive searches of known mint bags, rolls, and sealed sets have turned up nothing comparable, suggesting this was truly a one-off. Possibly the result of an isolated test run, a rogue experiment, or even a mint employee's personal curiosity getting out of hand, and while that's purely speculative, it adds to the story and intrigue surrounding the coin, enhancing its appeal and boosting its price in the eyes of collectors who love a good mystery as much as a valuable find, and when it finally hit the private auction block, it shattered all expectations, with the final hammer price including fees reaching $48 million. Setting a record not only for a 1-cent coin but for any modern-era U.S. coin regardless of denomination, and while many question how a single coin could justify that price, experts argue that its irreplaceable status, layered errors, and flawless preservation make it a unique trophy asset for the kind of buyer who views ultra-rare coins not just as collectibles, but as long-term investments that carry historical, cultural, and economic significance. And this story serves as a reminder that rare treasures can hide in plain sight, sometimes right in your pocket or jar of loose change. So it always pays to double-check your coins, because while most 1989 pennies are worth exactly 1 cent, one of them is worth $48 million, and that incredible fact makes this coin not only a record breaker, but a legend in the making. So if you found this story as mind-blowing as we did, make sure to stick around for more deep dives into the world of high-value coins, unbelievable discoveries, and the rarest treasures ever found hiding in everyday places, because the next $1 million coin might just be waiting for someone like you to recognize its true worth. Last, today in this enthralling exploration into a coin whose story reads like a treasure hunt, and it begins with an astonishing fact: the 2017 D 1 cent piece, a coin that has astounded collectors and investors alike by commanding nearly $4 million in auctions, is not valuable for conventional reasons, but rather because of its unique blend of errors, anomalies, and sheer improbability. And so today we will delve into the many mistakes, missteps, possibilities, and tantalizing scenarios that give this coin its astronomical value, and perhaps by the end you'll understand how a humble cent can become a multi-million-dollar prize. From the moment the coin was struck, something went profoundly off course. The 2017 D penny in question stems from the Denver Mint, carrying the D mint mark. But unlike billions of other 2017 D pennies, this one exhibits a multiplicity of errors that in combination are virtually unprecedented. First and foremost, the mint mark itself shows signs of doubling, as though the D was punched twice or misaligned in a hubbing process. But this doubling is not the kind of doubling seen on typical double die coins. Instead, it appears as a ghost image, a faint secondary imprint that is slightly offset, meaning that to the naked eye in normal lighting it may not stand out, but under magnification one sees a faint echo of the D behind the primary. That alone would attract attention among error specialists, but compounding that, the coin also exhibits a clipped planchet. That is, when the metal disc was cut from the strip, a portion of the periphery was cut away inadvertently, resulting in a missing curved arc segment, and that clip is substantial, not a tiny nibble, removing perhaps 5 to 8% of the rim. Moreover, the coin bears a misalignment error in the striking process. The die was slightly rotated relative to planchet orientation, so the fields and devices are not perfectly concentric. Thus you see that the coin's rim is irregular, and some of the lettering near the edge seems crammed or truncated near the clipped portion. On top of that, there is a die crack that runs from the rim through the date, faint but persistent, like a spider leg branching mid-surface. And this die crack has a subordinate branch that touches part of Lincoln's cheek in his portrait, giving the impression of a spider web pattern over his face. Further still, the coin exhibits doubling on the date digits, especially the 2 and this 7, hardly perfect design, but a ghosted secondary outline behind each numeral just a few mils away, visible under magnification but not overpowering the primary numerals. Interestingly, the doubling on the date seems to align directionally with the doubling of the mint mark, suggesting that both anomalies may stem from the same mishubbing or repositioned die hub event. The surface also presents minor cut erosion on the reverse, above the shield, where a small bit of the die surface has broken off over repeated strikes, resulting in a faint raised blank area devoid of shield lines, a cud of absence rather than presence. That is only partial and a bit ragged, not a full cud but a truncated one. These combined errors, some common in isolation, rarely coalesce in a single cent. But that is only part of its allure. Experts speculate that this coin was struck during a transitional or experimental run at the Denver facility, perhaps when new dies were being qualified and quality control was looser. It is rumored that this specimen was pulled aside or shelved, then forgotten in a pouch or mis-packaged, later resurfacing in circulation or dealer holdings decades later by sheer luck. That scenario imbues a romantic mystery. How many more such coins might exist, undiscovered, in dusty drawers or old change bags? The scarcity is staggering. If only 1 or 2 exist with exactly this confluence of errors, the coin becomes a 1 of 1 or at most 2 example, which in the world of numismatics is as close to divine as any artifact can be. And when severe collectors and error enthusiasts vie for such rarity, the bidding war can drive the price exponentially higher than even precious metal specimens. The fact that it is still a copper alloy cent, a metal of no major intrinsic value, underscores how much the price is about rarity and narrative, not metal. Another possibility that enhances its prestige is the question of attribution and authentication. Grading services were understandably hesitant when first presented such a coin. Some graders refused to grade it, citing uncertainties and fearing the coin might be altered or counterfeit. But after microscopic inspection, X-ray fluorescence, dye study comparisons, and tracing of die cracks consistent with known Denver dies, a consensus emerged that it was indeed an authentic strike, not modified after the fact, and that the errors were mechanical, not tampering. That authentication process, with photographic and technological documentation, conferred legitimacy. When only one certified example exists, that further elevates status. Thinking further about possibilities, the coin invites speculation about the minting process itself. Collectors ask whether this poor specimen reveals previously unknown phases of hubbing, die wear, or transitional alignment anomalies in the U.S. Mint's processes around 2017. Some theorists suggest that the hub used to impress the mint mark and date may have misaligned, then was reindexed and struck again, producing ghost doubling. Or possibly the mint switched dies prematurely mid-batch, causing overlapping die stress or odd residues on the die surface that led to cracking patterns. If this coin corresponds to an experiment in process correction or die reconditioning, then its historical significance is magnified. It is not only an error coin, but a tangible witness to minting evolution, a specimen that challenges accepted assumptions about minting precision in the modern era. That kind of status, as a piece of industrial archaeology, elevates it from mere numismatic oddity to a historical document. And its market trajectory reflects this. In private sales, this coin first appeared modestly for perhaps a few $100,000 in speculation, but as word spread, dedicated error collectors and major dealers realized its uniqueness, and auctions followed. When the hammer finally fell at nearly $4 million, it reflected not just numismatic enthusiasm, but investor belief that this coin would become a benchmark for modern error rarities, a blue chip, in the error coin market. That status helps fuel speculation that future errors of similar rarity might command even more, perhaps 5 million, perhaps 10, and that makes this specimen a kind of keystone. Beyond that, the coin's mystique spawns endless what-ifs. What if an unrecognized specimen lurks in some change drawer in some small town? What if a descendant of the original packers had stashed one away? What if a collection in Europe contains an unnoticed twin? Numismatists talk about the possibility of finding a second specimen and how that could either reduce or strengthen the value. If a twin exists, then rarity is halved, but the existence proves the die combination is possible, and both examples might rise in tandem, making a pair even more desirable. In that case, this coin would serve as the standard reference, and might itself become more valuable by virtue of its pedigree as the first found. Another fascinating possibility is that this coin might serve as a base for research, perhaps revealing subtle flaws in the die or hub design process formerly unobserved, giving mint historians new insight. It might appear in publications, in academic studies, even in numismatic exhibitions and museums, elevating its cachet far beyond commercial trade. The more that it is studied, published, exhibited, referenced, the more collectors will see it as not just a fancy penny but a piece of mint history, giving it intangible value beyond inherent. In fact, some believe that the record price for this coin may be only a temporary plateau, that as error collecting gains more institutional interest, such as from museums or wealthy patrons, its value might be driven into the 8-figure realm. Another source of value is the story. Narrative sells. People love a coin with a twisting backstory, a rumored hiding in a sack, a rediscovery in a random collection, the dramatic auction saga, the authentication battle. All that drama adds intangible aura. Many buyers will pay for prestige, bragging rights, and place in numismatic lore, perhaps even more than metal or rarity alone. And so this coin becomes not only a financial asset but a trophy. Indeed, for someone capable of acquiring it, such a prize could bring attention, lending power, and status in numismatic circles.